Okay, let's see. Let's put this back to the old format since I don't have a guest today, at least not so far. All right, we're about 11 seconds in. Let's see if the camera is actually working. Because, I like to see if the camera is actually working before I formally start on these things. Looking at my YouTube, I saw a nice picture of Morena Baccarin as the sorceress, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that movie. All right, so we're up on camera. We're live. We're good to go, and we've been having a lot of fun this month, mostly opening up Masters Universe figures because I'm excited about the movie, and I've been opening up. I started opening up the 2000X figures because I felt like that was a good that was a good thing to do leading up to the movie because the movie I felt like had a really clear 2000X influence to it, so it made sense. So we've opened up Evelyn, we've opened up Triclops, but we're going to take a little bit of a break from that today. Next episode, I'll be back with something else 2000X Masters Universe Classics, or I'm sorry, Masters Universe Origins. I'm sorry, and I think I'm going to open up Beastman next, and then I can go ahead and open up the from the movie, the Kids Core line, that version of Beastman, and we can compare that. If I'd have thought about it, I probably would have opened up that one and the Origins movie Beastman, all three of those at the same time. But I didn't think about that, unfortunately. So, but we can still compare. It should be fine. Al Davis is here and says, "Even Alan, got you loud and clear. Hope you're doing well, dude." Well, I'm doing all right. I hope you're doing well also. But today I got this to open up for you. Mainly because I want to get this out of the way. I've got some plans on what I'm going to do with this figure. It is not going to stay in my collection in this form. I am gonna use this for the base for a custom figure, and you guys are just gonna have to wait and see what it is. But today I have to open up for you from the 2025 James Gunn Superman movie. It's allegedly Superman. They had to put Superman 3 times on the side of this package to convince us. And here's the artwork on the back, and I don't know, to me that looks like, I don't think somebody actually drew that. I think they took a photograph of the actor in the suit, David Cornsweet, and just kind of ran it through a filter to make it look like a drawing. I think that's what happened there. I suspect that's what happened there. And look how tiny his hands are. I figure that's something where, if it was a photograph, it probably wouldn't look that unnatural. But when you try to make it into a drawing, his hands just look really tiny. Al Davis says, "Thank you. It's Friday. The sun is still shining, but the ice is slippery." Sorry, that was my little aside there. It was your birthday yesterday? I've done little to. Why didn't you tell me yesterday it was your birthday? I would have said happy birthday when I saw you on the stream, man. Well, happy belated birthday to you. I hope you're enjoying it over there. So anyway, I'm sure a lot of people when they saw that I had this figure were like, "Wait a minute, don't you just hate that costume? Don't you think that costume's awful?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I was not planning on buying this action figure at all initially until, for one thing, I was trying to think of a base for a certain custom that I really wanted to do. And again, you'll just have to wait and see when it's finished as to what it is. I no spoilers right now. But yeah. Second of all, they had a ton of these at my Walmart. They had I don't know how many it would have been. Probably 4 of each. It was a stack maybe about that wide. And they had this figure, this Superman. Not even the one with Crypto. That one actually sold. I think because people wanted the dog. But mainly because people wanted the dog. But they had this one, and they had Metamorpho, and that was, I think, the two basic figures in this line. All the other ones were the deluxe theatrical editions. And I do still have that Lex Luthor I need to open up, because that is a nice Lex Luthor figure. So, and then I got that one on clearance too. Those wound up going on clearance at the Walmart near my house. And even then, when they went on clearance, they went on clearance for like $25, which is probably what those figures should have been in the first place. Those really did not need to be deluxe figures. If you saw me open up Mr. Terrific, you know that I didn't feel like those were really deluxe figures. Those could have been $25 figures easily. But this one actually was a $25 figure. And that's still more than I wanted to pay for this, especially since I was going to use it for custom fodder. You know, this is not going to be I'm not going to be having a James Gunn Superman action figure in my collection. So somewhere down here, and I know because I just saw it the other day. Somewhere down here, I had that bag, that little baggie that I put the accessories. Well, this is G.I. Joe. I had another little baggie down here that I put accessories from the Mcfarlane Superman figures that I had, the movie Superman figures. Let's see if I can find that. Don't you just love seeing the top of my bald head when I'm digging around for stuff down here? Isn't that something that you guys just love to see on your screen, as the top of my bald head? I hope so, because I certainly show it off enough, don't I? Some people like bald heads, so personally, I don't mind having a bald head. My hair wasn't that impressive to begin with. Even when it was plentiful, it wasn't that impressive. You know, that's really frustrating, because I know I saw this the other day when I was looking for something else. And don't you just love it when you're looking for something else and you find something that you're not looking for, and then later on you're like, hey, I know I saw that thing over here, and then you just can't find it. You just can't turn it up. So I don't know what could have happened with that. It's the weirdest thing. So there's a little baggie there. Make sure that's not it. Well, we're just going to have to find it later, because I definitely don't want to spend too much time digging around for it right now. But there are some accessories in there I'm going to need later, so I'll have to try to find it later. It'll be fun. Al Davis says, quick question, Superman adjacent and related. I'm a fan of the character Mr. Majestic. Do you know him? What do you think of him? Also want to make a custom of him. Well, I'm not overly familiar with Mr. Majestic. I know that he's like he's one of those kind of like the Superman archetype kind of pastiche kind of characters. And what I do know of him is he was created, I don't know if Jim Lee himself created him, but he was created for Jim Lee's Wildstorm comics, I believe back in the 1990s. And then DC wound up buying Wildstorm, and I guess he became kind of like redundant, because they've already got so many. They've got the real Superman for one thing, and they've got like so many other characters that kind of fit into that milieu already. Like, you know, hell, he's not even the only Superman archetype in Wildstorm, because you also have Apollo, who also is like, you know, a Superman archetype, and he's in the Authority, which was like a really popular comic at the time. So I kind of feel like poor old Mr. Majestic fell by the wayside. And again, I don't know too much about him. I do remember really early on when DC bought Wildstorm, they did have Superman meet Mr. Majestic. It seems to me like that's a character, and I say this again without knowing a whole lot about the character. It seems like there is some potential there that I feel like is untapped. I think that you could probably do some interesting things with Mr. Majestic as a character. Well, for one thing, like, think about this. I was just saying how he's kind of redundant, because He's instead of being like Wildstorm's version of Superman, he's another Superman in the same universe as Superman. And maybe that's something that makes him an interesting character. It's I don't really like the Star Wars sequels, the Disney sequels, but one thing I did like was I liked that Kylo Ren as a character. It was like they kind of realized that, like, well, we can't make a villain who's cooler than Darth Vader, so why don't we make that the conceit of the character? And he's a guy who wants to be Darth Vader, basically. And Mr. Majestic, I kind of feel like that could be an angle you could take, and that could be something that can make him unique. Is like he's a guy out there trying to do his best to be a superhero. This is how I would handle this character, and I would have him be that kind of lawful good Superman type of character. I wouldn't do any kind of like because it's been done. We got Homelander, we got all kinds of like the Injustice version of Superman. We got all kinds of like dark and twisted versions of Superman out there. So Mr. Majestic is like the actual Superman. He's just like lawful good, nice, altruistic guy, and people in the universe are like, dude, you're just kind of like Superman light. And it's something he's constantly having to deal with. It's like, look, would you rather be saved from falling off a bridge by Superman light or not saved by anybody at all? And like I said, he'd be a genuinely good guy. But he'd be constantly having to deal with this sort of thing where it's like, he's being compared unfairly to the greatest superhero of all time. Al Davis says, agreed. All right, but I still like him. Hey, like obviously if there's something there that you like, there's something there that's, I'll have to look into the character a little bit more. And but it seems to be like that's something I would think that he's like Superman's violent Judge Dredd brother, him learning not to kill. Yeah, see, that's something you could do for an interesting thing too, is like a lot of the times these darker versions of Superman, it's like they're darker because they've decided that that's the only way to be the Injustice Superman kind of thing, Homelander. But what if you did have like somebody who started out as kind of like a darker version of Superman, but then maybe seeing the actual Superman makes him kind of reconsider, maybe I'm going about this the wrong way, because Superman as a character should be somebody who brings out the best in people. So maybe he actually does is somebody who has Superman bring out the best in him, maybe something like that. So yeah, like I said, I'm not too overly familiar with him. From what you say, like I think you probably could fit him in and do some interesting things with him. So anyway, we're getting off on a tangent. So but yeah, like as I remember, his costume was kind of like a fairly simple costume. As a character like that should have a fairly simple costume. So let's have a look at him real quick. I want to Mr. Majestic. I just want to, now I'm trying to think about how I would do a custom figure of him. I know that there was one, wasn't there one that Playmates made back in the 90s? I think that there was. So I might try to do something. I might try to look at that and see how they solved certain problems. Let's just put Mr. Majestic action figure and search for that and see what I can see. Because now I'm wondering if like I'm just hallucinating. Yep, looks like they did have one that they made back in the day. I think that was from that Wildcats line that Playmates. Yep, there's one in the package, and those would be like 6-inch figures, but I don't know how well articulated they are since they're from the 90s. But yeah, he's basically got like like a pretty standard sort of simple superhero costume, mostly tights. It looks like there's some a little bit of armored pieces maybe at the shoulders, and the gauntlets and all that kind of stuff. And he's got like he's got one of those cowls from the 90s where like it isn't quite a mask and it doesn't quite cover the top of the head, and his hair's hanging out, and he's got kind of a mullet because it was the 90s. And some of these is like he doesn't have that mullet anymore. I'm guessing that's from later and they got rid of it. But in the 90s, yeah, here's an Ed McGuinness picture that's like really cool. And I think Ed McGuinness was drawing Superman when they did that crossover I was talking about. So yeah, like what I would do probably is I would try to find a fairly basic superhero figure to use as the base, and I would probably want to have either as much red or as much white on it as possible, and that would probably be a good base. It looks to me like most of the details of his bodysuit, at least in most, I'm thinking of like the 90s version because that's the one I'd be more familiar with than anything else. But it looks like most of the kind of details that you'd have on that suit are things that could be just painted on, and that would probably be the best way to handle that, I think. So that would be my advice as far as that goes. So take of that what you will. Use that as the base. I know that the screen is frozen. Oh, the screen's frozen again. That's probably because I switched to the. It was probably just doing that because I was looking at my search there. But yeah, it's probably fine now. It should be fine now. It's fine now, right? Yeah, it's fine. Okay, cool. So, and Damien Ristori is here and says, "Good tidings, Alan, watching the Mcfarlane live stream at 8." Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this figure. Yeah, he might work all right for a base for that. If you can find one of these for $10. I probably wouldn't use that as a base for my Mr. Majestic figure though, because I would want to. Now I kind of want to do one. Now that you got me thinking about it, I know that I'd seen on Cults 3D where they had like an Injustice Superman head. Somebody made an Injustice Superman head to print out like from Injustice 2, where he had that kind of cowl thing going on. And that would probably be a good thing to use for the head, I would think. So anyway, I think I've talked about the packaging for this guy enough. Let's go ahead and open him up. And I'm gonna discuss some of my criticisms and my problems with this version of the Superman costume and why it is my least favorite Superman costume. And well, I don't know if it's my least favorite. It's my least favorite live action Superman costume. There's some in comics I probably like even less. And we're going to talk about some of those too. And they did not have a whole lot of glue holding this on. So Al Davis says to make a custom or buy one. Well, I mean, I bought this one to make a custom with. Like I said, he's not going to stay as a David Corn Sweat Superman in my collection. That's just not going to happen. But but hey, it was only $10. So if you're gonna have him in your collection, I can't think of a. I'll buy pretty. I've said it before. I'll buy pretty much any Mcfarlane figure for $10. If it's $10 or less, I'm gonna buy it. I don't care what it is. So there's the trading card, and it's the same piece of artwork that we had on the back there. Oh, and by the way, I do have the Metamorpho figure that I got at Target a while back, and I paid $10 for that, so that's why I bought that one. But Damien Destroy says, I almost missed that. Anyone know where to find a decent Metallo figure? My favorite villain needs more love. Well, I guess that depends on what version of Metallo you're looking for. And, do you want the one that's like the more sort of cyborg type Metallo, like the Terminator type with the endoskeleton and the fake skin, like the post-crisis type of Metallo? If you want more of like a Silver Age Metallo, Mcfarlane did like the Bronze Age Metallo and like the kind of orange and green armor. They did him a while back. Oh, for Damien, not for Damien for Metallo. Okay. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Let me think about it. So here's the back of the trading card. The Smallville one. I'm all off here. So yeah, whichever Metallo. It depends on whichever Metallo you're looking at. For Damien, for Metallo, the Smallville one. I'm lost now. I'm sorry. All right. So it says Superman, Mary Hartman, data file, real name Clark Kent, both the son of an otherworldly Krypton and the planet Earth's small town Smallville. Meta-human superhero Superman, aka Metropolis's Daily Planet reporter Clark Kent, must now juggle both jobs and personas while under attack from the most severe attack he's ever faced. Oh, sorry, I misread that. While being under the most severe attack he's ever faced. If Lex Luthor has his way, Superman will soon see the last of Earth, and Earthlings will rejoice. So, I will say that this bio is a bit of a mess, but I will give it props in that this does seem like it is kind of a specific sort of bio that's directed to that movie. So props to it on that. Dead Man in a Silver Pen. What you mean for Mr. Majestic? I mean, that might work, but Dead Man's kind of an expensive figure to buy. I don't know, maybe try to see if you can find like a cheap Flash. I know there's some Flash figures that are fairly inexpensive, but you'd want one, like I said, I would want one if I was doing it that had that basic bodysuit kind of thing going on. Because I wouldn't want to have like too many things that I would have to sand down or anything like that. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the accessories that this guy comes with, and his only accessories he comes with are 2 extra hands. So let's go ahead and get those out of the package, and they are extra hands that you'd probably want to have for a Superman figure, which is flight hands. Those kind of saluting type of flight hands. Al Davis says, "Sorry, Alan, didn't mean to throw you off, dude. It's fine. I meant for Damien. Did he yeah. Did he wind up getting a good Metallo figure out there, or whether he was asking about me?" I see. Okay. Yeah, that's another good question, actually. So I gotcha. So yeah, like if you wanted the Bronze Age Metallo, I think that one's probably still fairly affordable. I don't think they've done a more modern style Metallo yet, which they really should have. So there was only one rubber tab, like a double rubber tab, but still only one holding this guy into the package. And that's good because that makes him a little bit easier to manage. So let's talk about some of my issues with this costume and why I don't like it, and some of the things I actually do like about the costume. So first of all, let's say some positive things about this costume, and that's like, there's a few things that I'll say nice about it. I do like that they gave a college try to the trunks. The trunks are something that get kind of maligned, I think, as being something kind of old-fashioned, and some people say that, like, say Zack Snyder made a good decision in not having the trunks on his Superman costume. Personally, as far as like a live-action Superman costume, I'm indifferent, honestly. Like I didn't mind that the trunks weren't on the Zack Snyder costume. I didn't really miss them. And likewise, I don't necessarily mind the trunks being missing on Tyler Hoechlin's Superman costume. Didn't really miss them, And but they did bring back the trunks. They decided they tried to do the trunks, and good on them for trying to do like a classic Superman type of thing. The colors are nice. Got no problem with the colors. This is to me, I think, like a good Superman blue. It's I tend to favor darker blues on my Superman suits, and this I feel like is a good medium sort of blue. It's not overly dark, it's not overly bright, it's not like sub-obnoxious Pepto-Bismol kind of blue. Like, if Pepto-Bismol was blue, it would be that shade, like the Walmart blue. It's not Walmart blue. Al Davis says, I think the trunks work as shorts, not panties. I'm going to get into my problem with these trunks in a little bit, but I'm trying to talk about positive aspects of it right now. the red is nice and it's a good shade of red. I kind of feel like this is closer to the Zack Snyder shade of red than what they actually had on the Zack Snyder. It's that 300 kind of red, so I like that. It's vibrant, but it's not overly bright and obnoxious. So one thing that I will say about this costume in this movie that's positive is they did a really nice job with the color selection, and they were able to pick colors that I kind of feel like are comic booky, but not too obnoxious. And that's a good thing. So, and then something else we haven't seen on a live action Superman in a while is he's got the S on the back of the cape. I don't remember if they had that on the Superman and Lois show, but I do know that the Brandon Routh Superman costume did not have an S on the back of the cape. And the Henry Cavill suit, neither one of those had an S on the back of the cape. Oh, okay. He said, Al Davis says, I also meant Dead Man with a Silver Pen in relation to the custom of Metallo. I'm probably going to use a Superman variant for my Mr. Majestic custom. And that's appropriate, I think. So, yeah, like if I was going to do like a post-crisis Metallo, I think I might look at like Terminator action figures if I was going to do a custom of that. Like, because like I said, he's kind of that version of Metallo seems kind of inspired by Terminator anyway. And I'm convinced that John Byrne was even drawing Metallo in his human form to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time. He's got like a gap in his teeth and everything. Al Davis says, my criticisms are the collar, the stupid fucking piping stripes, and most of all, the fucking is he merman? Oh, we're gonna get. I'm getting to the negative section. We're gonna get to the negative section. As far as like the figure goes, again, talking with some positive things, is I do think that this is a very good likeness of the actor. David Corenswet looks just like him. They nailed that likeness. And the only thing I would advise is instead they probably should have had a head where he was screaming and crashing out like he seems to be in most scenes in that movie. Yelling at Lois Lane, yelling at Lex Luthor. He's always yelling at somebody. Why is Superman always yelling? You're in a world made of cardboard, man. Show some restraint. Jumping the yeah, that's a way to put it. Spoilers. So yeah. Let's go ahead. I think that's all the positive things I want to talk about. Let's get into some of the negative things. First of all, and this is the nittiest of nitpicks, but I'm gonna pick this nit anyway. Why does he have a square belt buckle? Why is that a thing? Like on the Lois and Clark television show back in the 90s, Dean Cain's Superman suit, and I know Dean Cain is a controversial figure these days, but I'm just talking about his costume, folks. I thought his costume was pretty nice for the most part. I thought maybe his emblem was a little large, and the way the S kind of went up a little too far in the middle, it was kind of a little wonky, but mostly I thought his costume was pretty nice. But one thing that just got on my nerves was he had a square belt buckle. Why did he have a square belt buckle? Superman should just have a round belt buckle. Like, why would you make it square? In Man of Steel, this is something that bugged me when the Henry Cavill Superman suits. In Man of Steel, he had a round belt buckle, and I thought it looked really cool. It looked like a classic Superman belt buckle. And then in Batman v Superman, all of a sudden, no, because I got the Zack Snyder Justice League one over here so we can see it. Now all of a sudden, he's got a square belt buckle. Why does he have a square belt buckle? This is a minor complaint on this suit, because this is the least of the problems with this suit. I'm starting at the bottom, but it's probably the biggest problem with the Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder Justice League suits is like square belt buckle. Why? Just make it round. It's supposed to be round. Is it really that hard? Usually they say cutting corners when you're doing something lazy, but you really should cut the corners on Superman's belt buckle and just make it round. Al Davis says, I wish it'd be a film of fifths character-wise. 1/5 Clark, 1/5 Lois, 1/5 Lex, and then 2/5 Superman. Yeah? I mean, that's a way to put it together. I still haven't seen this whole movie because I watched that first 5-minute clip, and I couldn't even make it through the first 5-minute clip. I couldn't even make it all the way through that. And I just knew that movie was not going to be for me, because like I wanted to see Superman treated with dignity and respect. And this one was just like, just using him as like a punching bag for James Gunn's dog. And I was not a fan of that at all. It was Paula Abdul, the Al Davis, that said, one step forward, two steps back. We come together because opposites attract. Yeah, I remember that song. That's that's old school. So yeah, that's a problem. And like I said, this is a minor problem. This is the smallest problem that I had. Man, we've been talking for 30 minutes. I'm not even halfway done. All right, so this is the smallest problem that I could possibly have with this suit. I don't like the texture of it, because they gave it like this really exaggerated fabric texture, and to me, it just kind of looks like a book bag. Like it looks like the texture of like a book bag. I don't like it. Now they put texture onto the Brandon Routh suit, which I don't have that figure over here, but they didn't really have that texture on the figure anyway. And they put texture on the Henry Cavill suit, and with that one, they were going from almost trying to make it look kind of like medieval chainmail or something, like to suggest like a knight of old. And I thought that was an interesting idea. I thought that was kind of a neat take. So I approved of that. I gave that my thumbs up. I liked that. But this is just kind of like, it's just kind of, why are you bothering to give them any kind of texture if it's just so, like it was kind of diamond shaped, kind of like subliminally suggestive of the Superman emblem in the Superman Returns suit. And like I said, they went way overboard with that Superman emblem stuff in that movie. But at least there was like a theme to it. This is just having texture for the sake of having texture. And I don't care for it. I'm not a fan. Al Davis says, I believe it was legendary scriptwriting guru Robert McGee that banned opening epilogues in films. Scrolls telling the audience shit they would be able to understand works for Star Wars. Well, yeah, Star Wars was, the reason George Lucas did that is because they did that in Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe. I mean, like it's like they did that kind of thing in serials all the time because they wanted to remind you what happened last week. So that's just something that was a function of the serials. And Star Wars was supposed to be like an old serial. And specifically, it was supposed to be like Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe, which had the same sort of opening crawl that was panning away from the screen like that. It looked exactly like that. But it gives lazy, cheap vibes now. It worked in Blade Runner too, actually. There's very few movies that I feel like that works in. Mask of Zorro would be another one I would throw out there. And even then, like, I kind of feel like that's to establish that Zorro is a character that exists in this universe, So, Damian Ristori says, Alan, did you enjoy watching Superman and Lois from the 90s? Yeah, the Dean Cain show. I was just mentioning that with Terry Hatcher. Yeah, I thought that was a good show, especially the first season. I kind of feel like the second season, when they tried to make it into more of like a standard superhero show, it kind of went off the rails a little bit, but it didn't really jump the shark until they did the thing where like Clark and Lois finally got married, and it turned out it was a clone of Lois that liked to eat frogs. That was where it really jumped the shark for me. Al Davis says about the suit, it has burlap sack texture vibes. That's a less flattering version than what I said. I only said a backpack, but yeah, burlap sack works too. But yeah, I liked Lois and Clark back in the day. I thought that was a fun show. And it's like I kind of feel like that's the last old school superhero show in a way, because Smallville kind of set the standard for that whole sort of CW type of superhero show where it was almost kind of like a teen soap opera for half of it, for better or worse. And it's definitely before we got into the the more modern type of, the Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, where now TV shows are a lot more serialized. And Superman and Lois definitely had some elements of that. I like Superman and Lois. I thought that was Tyler Hoechlin. I thought that was a good show. I need to watch the rest of it because I'm missing I think there's at least one season I haven't seen of it, maybe two. So where was I? Oh yeah, Amiga Cammy's here and says hi Alan, hi all, and happy belated birthday Al. Yeah, happy birthday again to Al. I'll say it again. Al Davis says it's a rare thing to get right, but often it's for the general audience, supposedly. Yeah, but for me, it's just like, do I really care about Lana Lang's ex-husband's love life? Not really. I don't. Like, and again, I like that show, but it's just kind of like, well, why are we doing this? Can we just we've got Bizarro going on over here. Can we see Bizarro? Like, what's going on with Bizarro? That version of Bizarro I really like, by the way. The Superman and Lois version of Bizarro. Very different from the comic book, but I thought he was cool. Al Davis says hi to Cammy, and sorry I was ranting with Alan. It happens. And Damien Ristori says happy belated birthday to Al. So see, yeah, you should have said something about it yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to fuss at you. I'm really not. All right, so getting back to my criticisms about this costume, we haven't even gotten started. All right, so as Al Davis mentioned before, there are all these kind of random seams all over it, and I don't like that at all. It just makes it overly complicated. It makes it overly busy. For people who said that like this was the most accurate comic book version of Superman costume, I submit to you evidence against your point. Here is a drawing of Superman in a comic book style, and it winds up looking nothing like what he looks like in the comic books. There's no muscle definition that has been a hallmark of the character since his first appearance in 1938. And there's all these seams all over it that have never been on any mainstream Superman costume ever, except for the new 52 costume. Oh yeah, I'm going there. People will try to tell you this is the classic Superman costume because it has trunks on here. I am going to argue against that, and I'm going to argue vehemently against that in just a second after I read what Al Davis says in the chat. Lana was hotter than Lois in Superman and Lois. I agree. She was really hot in that. And Lana's often hotter than Lois. Like, she was hotter than Lois in the Christopher Reeve movies too. Nothing against Margot Kidder, but Annette O'Toole. You know, I'm just saying. I remember when Smallville was first on the air, and people I heard a couple of guys arguing about who was hotter between Lana and Chloe. Let's not open up that can of worms, but they were at the time they were arguing over who was hotter between Lana and Chloe, and I'm like, Martha Kent. I'm sorry, she could bake me a pie anytime. I'm just saying. The Tyler Hack. I knew what you meant, and I agree with you there. But yeah, like it. But what I'm saying is, it's not an unusual thing to have like Lois be hotter than or Lana be hotter than Lois. I would say that Smallville, I liked Erica Durant's more than I liked Kristen Kruk. And Kristen Kruk's lovely. I'm not trying to disrespect her. Like, I would not turn her down. but Erica Durant's I liked better. That's just my personal preferences. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I liked Lana on the Superman and Lois. I liked her on that. Damien Ristori can I ask everyone's favorite Superman villain and also ones you find underrated? That's a good question. I guess like for favorite, this might be a basic bitch answer, but I'm gonna go with Lex Luthor because I kind of feel like he's the one that that fits the best with Superman as a character. You know, like physically you get more of a challenge from like a General Zod or a Darkseid. And Darkseid honestly would probably be like my number 2 choice. Very, very close second to Lex. I love Darkseid. But I do like how Lex Luthor is kind of like a figure that is. I just seen the other day, just yesterday on Facebook, I'd seen where somebody had posted a page from the Superman for All Seasons comic book. Tim Sale drew that one, you know, and there's this great page where Lois is being held by a terrorist at gunpoint, and Superman and Lex Luthor are both there. And Lex Luthor's like, I'll handle this. I'll negotiate with anyone. And I can negotiate with anyone, even a terror. And then, like, right in the middle of the word, you see like this red, blue, and yellow blur across the panel. And then Superman's back on the other side in the next panel, back on the other side holding the gun. And Luthor's like, ists. Like, in an ordinary world, Lex Luthor would be Superman. Like, he would be, you know, this in the Nietzschean sense, this great figure that stands above everybody else. But he's in a world that has the Man of Steel in it, that has Kal-El, that has that super. And how can he compete? And for a guy with Lex Luthor's kind of ego, that cannot stand for him. And I kind of feel like the tragedy of Luthor is he could have been a heroic character if not for letting his own ego and his pride get in the way. That to me has always been you know, the core of that. And what's the most underrated Superman villain? Oh man, let me give that some thought. Oh man. You know what? I think I might say that Metallo might actually be the most underrated Superman villain, because he's another guy that can give Superman kind of a physical challenge, and he's not one that we see a lot. So anyway, where was I? We got a lot in the chat that I've been ranting there, and I missed a lot in the chat. So let's go back a little bit. Al Davis says, no disrespect to any, Annette O'Toole is miles hotter than Margot Kidder, and she's not really ridiculously hot. I think Annette O'Toole was ridiculously. You should watch Cat People. That's all I'm saying. All right. Damian Ristori says, cool picks. Thank you. And Jason's Electric is here and says, hi, Alan. Been on the fence of picking this one up, but I did not pick up the Superman, but I did pick up the Superman Returns 2026 figure. Well, that's a great figure to pick up. And like, if you can find this guy for $10, I'm going to say pick him up. I got it. Part of the reason I was waiting on this guy to go on sale. And when he was $10, I'm like, I'll buy any Mcfarlane figure for $10. So, but like I said, he's going to be custom fodder. So Al Davis says, I'm torn between Lex for everything, Doomsday for brutality. Doomsday is another one I really like. Even though I kind of feel like Doomsday is kind of a one-shot villain. Like once you get past the death of Superman, it's kind of hard to use Doomsday in a story, because how do you top that, you know? I mean, they tried to do some things with him, and they've done some things that were interesting. But I still kind of feel like that like he's a tough nut to crack as far as a recurring villain. But as far as being the one-shot villain in that story, you couldn't ask for a better villain to fill that role in that particular story. And kudos to Dan Jurgens for creating that character and doing an awesome job. Let's see. Lone Dragon is here, and he gives us a wave. Hi, Lone Dragon. Good to see you as always. Al Davis says, underrated villain, Batman, my favorite character of all time. The underrated Superman villain. Well, you know, technically Batman was the villain in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. He was the antagonist, at least. So that is actually a valid answer. Damian Ristori says, yeah, Metallo rocks. He certainly does. Amiga Cami says, I used to think the storyline of Lex becoming president was far-fetched because I never thought people would vote for somebody with a criminal record. Well, you know. We're a nation of rebels over here, so I actually wasn't that surprised by that. I don't want to get too political on this channel. I never want to get too political on this channel. This is not a place for that. This is a place for talking about action figures. But if we're going to bring up the comparisons between Lex Luthor and the Orange Man, I will say that it's kind of obvious looking at various things from the 1980s, various comic book stories from the 1980s. It's fairly obvious that in the 80s they were basing Lex Luthor off of Donald Trump. Even that one shot prestige format, excellent comic, by the way. Lex Luthor, the unauthorized biography. The cover of it is clearly based on the cover of Trump, the Art of the Deal. So, so yeah, he's always been supposed to be Donald Trump, at least the post-crisis version, even before either one of them ran for president. And let's again, as you point out, Lex did it first. Webster asked Damian Ristori. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I knew you were talking about Webster. I knew who you were talking about from Superman 3, but I missed Jason's comment, which was underrated Superman villain was Superman 3 dude to me, and then Damian Ristori asked Webster. And that's another character that I think was really influential on the post-crisis Lex Luthor, because he was an evil businessman. So there you go. Damian Ristori asks, was a Mazo created as a Superman villain? If so, he was pretty memorable. He was created, I believe, as a Justice League villain in the Justice League comic book. But during the Bronze Age, there was like a storyline. I think it was like a 2 or 3 part storyline where Superman fought a Mazo. And that was actually the first time I'd ever seen that character. So I kind of more associate him with Superman than any of the other Justice League members. Superman's favorite villain, Mom Kent's roadkill casserole. Yeah, well, I'm from the southern part of the United States. I've had roadkill casserole, so that is not not an invalid answer. And Al Davis says Doomsday should be a one and done in Death of. Agreed. And yes, even if Doomsday, even if that was Doomsday's only appearance, I would still rank him in probably my top 5 Superman villains. He's definitely one of my favorites. And then Amiga Kami says many 80s villains were based on him. Oh, of course. And a lot of 80s villains were televangelists too. So Jack Kirby was another guy who was ahead of the curve, because he based Glorious Godfrey on Billy Graham. But when they brought Glorious Godfrey back in the 80s in the Legends miniseries, it was definitely inspired by televangelists. There's a lot of televangelist villains from that time. Like one of the villains in License to Kill was a televangelist. The villain in the Dan Aykroyd Dragnet movie was a televangelist. I could go on. Lone Dragon says, I liked Gilbert Gottfried as Mxyzptlk. Yeah, he did a great job in that role, didn't he? R.I.P. Gilbert Gottfried. I kind of feel like that was one of those things where it's like I never really thought of him as being the voice of Mxyzptlk until he was cast in that role, and then I'm just like, how is that not the most obvious thing? And then Al Davis says, haha, sorry, I'm English. Apologies, Alan. You don't have to apologize to me for being English. You can't help where you were born, dude. No, I've said before, I like England an awful lot. So I will remember him from Problem Child. Yeah, like I'd forgotten he was in Problem Child until recently, when somebody made a Facebook post about it, and there he was in there. And I'm like, oh yeah, he was in that movie, wasn't he? All right, so let's get back into some of my criticisms about this suit. Now, for those of you saying that, like, oh, well, it's not that much of a new 52 suit just because it's got lines on it. Henry Cavill's suit got lines on it. Are you saying that one's a new 52 suit? No, Henry Cavill's Superman suit is a Golden Age Superman suit. And I can get more into that as we talk about it. TMNT says, who's AI Davis? Yeah, see, this is why we need to change what that lowercase L looks like. We need to put a little bit of a serif on there. That's Al Davis. That's our pal Al. Damian Ristori says, as a Bond buff, you talking about Wayne Newton? Yes, I am indeed talking about Wayne Newton. Where he played a televangelist. He wasn't the main villain in that movie, because that was Sanchez. But yeah, he was certainly a villain in that movie. By the way, that's one of my favorite James Bond movies. It was the first James Bond movie that I ever saw in its entirety. when it was on HBO, and I loved it. And I will say that Robert Davi was the villain in that, and I thought he was excellent, and I loved that character. And the one thing that I don't like about him is he was named Sanchez, because I just like all these James Bond villains have these like really exotic names, like, you know, Goldfinger, Blofeld, Scaramanga, and then Sanchez. Like like bro might as well have been named Smith. That's like, what's the most common Latin last name we can think of? Jason's Electra says, are you watching the Mcfarlane show at 3? I didn't know there was one. I'm probably still going to be talking. Some of you guys might be dropping out, like, as far as to watch that, maybe, because I might still be talking. Lone Dragon says, I like weird AI Yankovic. Well, I'm always a fan of the weird one, no matter what you call him. Yeah, Robert Davi and Joe Don Baker. He was the villain in Joe Don Baker was the villain in why am I drawing a blank on the first one? The Living Daylights. He was the villain in The Living Daylights. Yeah, Al with an L, not related to Alan Davis, the comic book artist who I'm a huge fan of, or Al Davis, the Rangers guy. Damien Ristori says, I told you a half hour to go. Yeah, you probably did. I probably just didn't understand what you were saying. So I didn't have the context of being there was a Mcfarlane show. That's my fault. So Al Davis says it's 7:36 here right now. I probably will go watch it. I do like me some Mcfarlane. I won't get my feelings hurt. You can always come back and watch the rest of this later. Bobby Wald says, I wonder if they pack kryptonite in the packaging with Superman, would that help make his joints nice and smooth when you go to pose him instead of being impenetrable? Well, we'll see. I haven't gotten to the articulation section of it yet. TMNT says it's 138. Where you're at, it's 2:38 where I'm at. So I don't know. Like, I'm guessing Damien Ristori is in the same time zone as me because he said 3. So I'll go back and check it later. Robert Davi, Agent Al Davis says Agent Johnson, no relation in Die Hard. Yep, that's him. Great actor. I love seeing him and stuff. Bye, TMNT. Have a good one. Good to see you. So let's get back into more of my criticism of the costume. So New 52 costume. He's got the piping that we already talked about, and he's got that high collar. I hate the high collar on Superman, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because I associate that with fascist parallel universe versions of Superman, going all the way back to the Superboy live action TV series, where the Sovereign was an alternate universe version of Superboy who was a dictator, and he had a high collar like that. There was one of the 2001 Armageddon 2001 annuals, not the year 2001, but it was the 90s, but Armageddon 2001 was the title of it. And they had a despotish Superman who took over the world basically, in that had a high collar. Always got a high collar. Al Davis says, catch you later, dude. Does that mean it started already? I'm a Belkian. No, you always come back for it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. If you want to go watch the live Mcfarlane thing, you're not going to hurt my feelings, dude. I gotcha. You can come back and watch the rest of it later. Just if you come back and watch the rest of it later, leave a comment. That's all I'm going to ask. Leave a comment and let me know you did. Al Davis says, I really like Corn Sweat's neutral standing pose. Yeah, it is a nice pose, isn't it? So, where was I? He doesn't look bad at all, to be honest. Hey, if you like it, you like it, you know. If you can find one of these for $10, pick it up if you like it. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get back to some of my criticisms on this costume. So I didn't like the texture. I didn't like the piping. I didn't like the high collar. And I don't like the boots, even though the boots look fine on the figure. In the movie, they look to me kind of clunky. And there's that one shot where, like, I don't know if it's CGI or just something weird happened with the camera lens. There's that one shot, you see people meme it all the time, where he's got that really long foot, like the clown shoe thing going on. You know what I'm talking about? Have you guys seen this? It's just weird. But I kind of feel like his boots were really clunky in the movie. The whole suit's clunky, but the boots especially were clunky. And that was a complaint I had about the Brandon Routh Superman costume too, was I felt like the boots were too clunky. I kind of feel like, again, going back to the Henry Cavill Superman costume, they had the boots almost be like part of the suit. And it looked a lot like the Kurt Swan Superman drawings, where it was almost very, very tight fitting boots, almost like they were socks or something like that. And I thought they nailed it in that that Man of Steel costume. So yeah, this whole suit, it's got like it doesn't look so bad in the action figure, but it's got this sort of loose fitting sort of thing going on that I didn't care for at all. And I kind of feel like Superman needs to have that muscular definition like that the characters had in the comic books since 1938. I kind of feel like that's something that needs to be part of his costume in the live action version too. Now, even in the George Reeves television show, they put a muscle suit under him to help keep his definition. He was a fairly athletic guy. He was in good shape, but they put the muscle suit on him so he'd still have the definition once the tights were pulled over him. And likewise, Christopher Reeve, he's wearing tights, and that kind of compresses the muscles, but it still has that sort of you can tell that there's muscular definition underneath it. And I know Corn Sweat worked out because I saw pictures of him in the gym where he was working out and he's flexing his muscles and he had some guns going on. But what's the point of it if you're just gonna have him in this baggy boiler suit? I mean, like, Amiga Cami says, I never liked the collar. It seemed elitist to me. That's another way to put that. And that's why I didn't like the high collar on the I did like it on the New 52 suit, and I don't like it on this suit that is clearly based on the New 52 suit. I'm not a fan of the New 52 suit. They never should have used anything from it in doing this costume. As far as modern Superman costumes go, I know I've talked a lot about the Henry Cavill Superman costumes and how much I like those. And I talked a little bit about the Tyler Hoechlin costumes, which I did not like quite as much as the Henry Cavill costumes, but I still thought they were pretty good. They had some issues with them that I had. I'm not going to get into them right now, but they did have some issues that I had. I really liked the Fleischer type suit that he has in the flashbacks. That should have been his regular Superman suit as far as I'm concerned. But my favorite live action Superman suit is actually the one that Brandon Routh had when he was in the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths. I thought that Kingdom Come suit was just great. And I said before, if you did that same suit, but with a more traditional Superman emblem and a yellow belt, that would be, to me, the perfect live action Superman suit. And that's how I would do it if I was going to do my own live action version of Superman. Lone Dragon says Jada Vega just showed up. Now I have to wait for T Hawk and Zangief, and I'll have all the PlayStation 1 characters. Well, that's cool. I'm not sure if Cammy is named Cammy because of that Cammy, but and Cammy says New 52 is when I stopped collecting comics. Yeah, I stopped collecting DC comics for a while, and then I came back for a little bit at Rebirth, and then I left again with Brian Michael Bendis. So Zangief, I knew what you meant, Lone Dragon. And Amiga Cammy says, I thought Infinite Crisis was peak. Infinite Crisis was pretty awesome. I did that was some good times as far as like the DC universe goes. And Aldea says, same here. The Fleischer-esque one was awesome. Yeah, see, that should have just been his suit through okay, I will say what my main problem is with the Tyler Hoechlin Superman and Lois, the main suits, is I kind of felt like they were a little dingy. Not even dark, but they just looked like they could use a good wash. You know what I mean? They could be run through the laundry a little bit. If there's one thing, and there is one thing, this is the one thing I will say that I like better about this Superman suit than the Tyler Hoechlin one, is that I think they did a better job with the colors. I wouldn't even say that this one did a better job with the colors than the Zack Snyder Superman suit, because I kind of felt like those colors were kind of Fleischer-esque, and I really liked them. So it's a lateral move from the Snyder colors to this color. And that's like the only way I can compare it positive to the Zack Snyder Superman suits. Hey, I just noticed something when I was looking at him at this angle, is like at this pose, it's almost kind of like the Neil Adams Kryptonite Nevermore pose, if you can imagine him breaking the chains. It's almost kind of like that pose, and I didn't mean to get him into it. So yeah, this is my least favorite live action Superman suit, if I'm being honest. And I guess that makes sense because it's probably my least favorite live action depiction of Superman overall. And to those of you out there who are big fans of this movie, and I know some of you out there are fans of this movie, I'm sorry I got to rag on it. I'm sorry I got to be honest. I'm not gonna lie about it. There's issues that I had with this movie, and it's just how it is. But I don't let that take away from your enjoyment of it. I want you to keep on enjoying the things that you enjoy. Please don't let me rain on your parade. Please don't let me sour it for you. That's not my intention here, and I very much would not want it. And Al Davis says, "Can we rip the fucking awful logo off now, please?" Well, that's an interesting question. Can we take this off? I don't know if that's actually molded to the chest or if it is a separate piece, because sometimes they do these emblems as a separate piece. I'm kind of picking at it to see if I can get it off, but it doesn't seem like it wants to come off. I'm pretty sure it's just sculpted on there, so I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off. Damien Ristori says Lone Dragon 3261 Star Action Figures UK has a few Street Fighter 2 figures on sale if you're looking. So there we go. I think he was just making a joke about Cammy being a Street Fighter character. But Lone Dragon is a dragon, so you know, if we're all going by our screen names. And I just picked Alan Belk. I didn't pick something like Iron Cockmaster 919 or something like that. So this wasn't my real name. All boring. UK sounds like expensive shipping and tariffs. Yeah, depending on what part of the world you're in. Yeah, it would be for me. So you didn't even notice Cammy. Well, that's just a coincidence then. Okay, well, she's here. So, or she was. I don't know if she still is, but maybe she's still here. She might say hi in the chat if she's still there. Al Davis says the film was overstuffed by half. You know, like fans of Henry Cavill Superman complained that we never got a solo sequel to Man of Steel. There was never another solo Superman movie after that. But David Cornsweat fans, you guys didn't even get a one solo Superman movie. You got a movie with like a whole Justice gang already in it. Al Davis says, I checked. Iron Cock Master was already taken. Well, isn't that just my luck? So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation on this guy, which I got the feeling is going to be excellent, just from fooling around with him informally. But let's go ahead and get into this. So Superman can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of from side to side, rotate the head all the way around, and it's a very snug fit on there. Lone Dragon says, Al Davis, I hope they used lube. Well, you know, you got the Iron Cockmaster there. He's gonna have to use lube. Al Davis says, great minds, obviously. Yeah, indeed. Superman's arms can rotate all the way around the shoulders and raise up to the sides about that far. He does have the Mcfarlane butterfly joint on there, so you got a lot of wiggle room there as far as that goes. Superman's got a bicep fold. The bicep does rotate all the way around. He's got double jointed elbows. Excellent range of motion that you get at the elbows. I am very excited for the custom figure that I'm going to make out of this. It's going to have great articulation because, like I said, he's not going to stay a Superman in my collection. That's not happening. I'm gonna make this into a completely different character, and when I make this into a completely different character, it's gonna be like kind of my middle finger to my main problem with this movie. That's all I'm saying right now. Amiga Cammy is still here and says, I love the Jada Street Fighter figures. I have 2 Cammies, but feel like if I got any more, I'd end up needing them all. Don't I know that feeling? You know, you haven't been with the channel long enough, I don't think, to hear this story. But the story of how I became an adult action figure collector is, by the time I was 13, I had outgrown playing with action figures. I couldn't play with action figures anymore. Sometimes I would play with them with like my younger cousin, but like I couldn't really do it by myself anymore. Just the part of my brain wasn't there anymore when I went from being a child to being on the cusp of adulthood. But when in 1989, when a little movie called Batman came out, and I loved it, and my main obsession was with the trading cards. I was buying all the Batman 1989 trading cards I could get my hands on. But one day when I was at the store, I happened to see the new Toy Biz Batman action figures, and I thought to myself, well, I don't really play with action figures anymore, but I would like to have a Batman action figure. That'd be nice. Just have a Batman action figure to sit on my shelf, and I bought him. And then I was like, well, if I've got the Batman, I might as well get the Joker. I mean, you can have Batman and the Joker on the shelf, and got him. And I'm like, well, I got Batman and the Joker. I mean, I might as well have Robin. I mean, he wasn't even in the movie, but they've got a figure of Robin here. I might as well get him, and Superman, the Penguin. That's how it all started. Lone Dragon says that would be the best way to take iron for those times when you absolutely must take iron. Al Davis says, can he be judgmental? Crossed arms over the emblem, bonus hiding that hideous fucking look. Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's see if we can do that. Actually, I'm thinking we probably can, because he's got really nice elbow articulation, and the arms seem really well articulated. The problem is going to be with the hands, and I think what I need to do that really is I'm going to take this kind of gripping hand off of here. Oh, by the way, the hands that he has on the figure, gripping hand. One is a gripping hand, one is a fist. I'll kind of set that flat on there. I think that might be, because then I can kind of try to tuck it in between. And there, how about that? How about that? We can do that. Let's see, where was I in the chat? Lone Dragon says, I need that damn blue Guile. Target never stocked, and Walmart just cancels my order every time it comes into stock. Ain't that always the way? And Amiga Cami says, hee, that's how it goes. Yep, see, it's snowballed all the way down from there. And then we get to the point where, like, I'm just sitting around on YouTube opening an action figure like nearly every single day. Al Davis asked, Lone Dragon, do they ship from their own stores? But sometimes they ship from their own stores, Walmart, and sometimes they're shipping from. Sometimes it's like the local store. Sometimes they're just bringing it over from your Walmart that's right next to you. Sometimes they're bringing it over from a Walmart like halfway across the country or something. It depends. Arnie said, pumping iron is great. It's like coming. Amiga Cami says, for me, it was Pirates of the Caribbean action figures from Zizzle that turned me into a collector. I only grew up on Barbies and a Michelangelo. My sister loved Barbies when she was a youngster. She I think probably still has like a lot of her old Barbie collection that was like the holiday Barbies. Like she kept those in the boxes. Even as a kid, she kept those in the boxes. So Damien Story says, you gave me a flashback there. I remember the hardest figure to find here in Scotland was in fact Bob the Goon. I remember kids at the time were lucky if he showed up. Yeah, that's the opposite over here. Bob wound up being a peg warmer. Even like for a while there, when I was trying to about like 20 years ago, trying to collect all the Toy Biz Batman figures, Bob was one that was easy to get for fairly cheap, even at that time over here. So now he's a little more expensive, a little more pricey. But I think what I suspect happens is a lot of people were buying multiple Bob the Goon action figures so they could swap out the heads and make various Joker henchmen. Al Davis says, for me, it was the first wave of McFarlane Invincible figures, then went to the Skybound ones. Now I'm waiting for the Jada Toys. Yeah, we've all got our story of how we became an adult collector. They just get us hooked in like that. Lone Dragon says, none of my Walmarts carry Street Fighter 2 or G.I. Joe or Motu. Oh man, that's awful. I know there's at least a few Walmarts around me that don't have any. It seems to me like if they don't have Masters of the Universe, they don't have G.I. Joe also, and vice versa. I do know that the Walmart near my work has the Street Fighter figures, but I didn't notice if they had a blue Guile. But I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can find one. If I'll keep my eye out for one, and then I'll figure out some way to get it to you. So anyway, Damian Ristori says, "Wow, yeah, exactly." Amiga Kami says, "I bought a new Barbie yesterday. It was the Kylie Minogue one. I like Kylie Minogue. She was the first girl to play Cammy. That's right. That's right. She was the original Cammy, and I love her music, so I had to have her." Yeah, I saw Kylie Minogue, so thought I had to have her, but I wasn't talking about the action figure. I'm sorry. I'm being a pig. But she is a very beautiful woman. I'm just saying. So I had a bit of a crush on her back in the 80s. She did that Locomotion video. She wasn't like hugely well known in the United States at that time, but she did put out that single over here. So Lone Dragon says, how do you know I collect adults? Is there a breach in the cellar? Did one get loose? Al Davis says, it sucks. I have my local comic book store, Forbidden Planet, and other trips, and Amazon. Amazon is a good source for those kind of things. Al Davis says, Kylie has had a great career. You know what? One of my favorite things won't be surprising to anybody who's been watching this show for a while. One of my favorite things Kylie Minogue ever did was that episode of Doctor Who that she was on. I thought she was great, as she was like a one-shot companion in that. But I would have loved it if that character could have been a regular companion. And I get it. I get it. She's probably too big a star to commit to a regular TV series like that. She's not gonna even in something like Doctor Who at its prime at that point, or at least almost at its prime. Even then, like I don't think she would have been able to commit to a whole series. But wouldn't it be cool if she would have been able to? I think she would have been great. But I loved her on that episode. I thought she was awesome. Future DC Warriors here and says, what's up, DC Allen? Is it weird because I think the Superman 2025 movie is trash, but I think him as a figure looks better, and he actually does in the movie, unlike the Pattinson, which was trash in the movie and the figures too. Yeah, like I think that the suit itself, even though it doesn't quite have the muscular definition that I feel like a Superman figure should have, it also doesn't look as loose and as baggy as it did a lot of the time in the movie and the set photos and things that I saw. So yeah, I would say that this one does. I still don't like it. and it's still going to be custom fodder, but I will say that I do like it better as an action figure than what I thought like it actually looked like in the movie. And it surprises me how well this actually works as an action figure, if I'm being honest. I think that that I was not expecting it to work, or else it gets the hose again. Amiga Cami says she was Australia's sweetheart. Yeah, she's definitely she's definitely worthy of that. You guys should be proud of her. She's awesome. I love Kylie Minogue. And she started out on a series though, Neighbors. Yeah, I never saw that show. So as far as I knew, she just started out as a pop star in the United States. Like the first thing I knew her from was being a pop star, and then like. I'm sure she just had like a steady career in Australia from that point. But here in the United States, for whatever reason, after the 80s, she kind of disappeared off the map and then came back like maybe around like 2002 or so. That was that song. Na, 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 na. That song. Good song. Great tune. And the video, and she's just gorgeous in that video, and that one was like a huge hit over here. And I think that was the thing that actually finally made her like a big star over here. but yeah, and that's the American perspective on Kylie Minogue. And I like I said, I've always been a fan. but yeah, she was too big by then for Doctor Who. Yeah. Al Davis says, Warrior, I haven't seen the Pattinson figure, but I agree with you on this one. In the figure, you can't see the baggy, sacky wrinkles, folds, and all the extra drapery, as well as the creasing with those. And Amiga Kami says, to be honest, when I first saw this costume, I've thought they designed it so it would be more wearable by kids and cosplayers who didn't have the muscles to fill out a spandex costume. Well, maybe that was the intention. I don't know. My joke about it when I first saw it was it looks like a Party City costume. So that's not that's not too far off from what I was thinking. Lone Dragon says, be right back. Got to get a drink. Turns out making a box of pudding and sticking the straw in the bowl did not quench my thirst nearly as much as I anticipated. No, but it does sound delicious. So, hell, that was at 3 o'clock. He might even be back by now. Because I'm behind on the chat. And but I'm caught up now because we got Amiga Kami saying, yeah, she disappeared to England for a while and switched to pop music, from pop music to dance music, because that's where the scene was really going. So, but yeah, like I said, for me in the United States, she just kind of like was she's the girl who sings the Locomotion song, and she's cute. I like her, and like, you know, had the little schoolboy crush on her, and then she just disappeared for years, and then had this other hit song, and it's like, you know, that's the girl that did Locomotion back in the 80s. I'm like, oh, that explains that explains and then Future DC Warrior says, I would never own a Pattinson figure. He looks more like Beta Man than Batman. I actually did own a Pattinson figure, because I bought the 12, and there's an unboxing of it on this channel. You can see it. I bought the 12-inch scale Bat Cycle, because I do really like that design of the Bat Cycle. And it was pretty cheap to get on Amazon at the time. I don't know how much it is now, but at the time I was able to pay like 20, 30 bucks for it. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was a good deal. It was enough that I felt like it was a good deal to buy that motorcycle. And it came with 4 action figures, and 2 of them were Robert Pattinson as Batman. But I wound up using that as a custom to make a 12-inch Snake Eyes figure. So that actually worked out pretty cool. But again, like I said with this one, it wasn't part of I didn't consider it part of my collection. It was something that came with something else that I bought, and then it became custom fodder. And you know what? I haven't finished talking about the articulation on this guy. So let's get back to that. So he's got that kind of cool Mcfarlane torso articulation where you can tilt from side to side. He's jointed where the rib cage meets the abs, and where the abs meet the trunks. And of course, he rotates all around at the rib cage and rotates all the way around at the trunks. But it seems like that's a tight joint there. And of course, it's going to kind of bump into the belt a little bit. Superman can kick up about that far, so that's pretty good range of motion there. And he does have like a little bit of a wobble here, but not a whole lot of a wobble. That seems you know, fairly standard for Mcfarlane. Future DC Warrior says there is one Pattinson statue that looks absolutely nothing like him. It looks like Batfleck or his stunt double in the Pattinson costume. I wonder if it was done when Ben was still supposed to make the movie. Maybe. And Al Davis says, I got the Bat bike from the Pattinson film for 17 pounds. I'm going to use it for a different figure. Yeah, that's the Mcfarlane one, or the 12-inch one, the Spin Master one I was talking about. They're both cool. I really like that. To paraphrase Mr. Plinkett, the design of the Bat Cycle from that movie is so cool that I have to imagine that Matt Reeves had nothing to do with its design, and in fact was actively against it. But yeah, I have the Mcfarlane version of the Batman Bat Cycle, and I usually keep Batgirl on that. And I have the 12-inch one. I keep Batgirl on that one too. So it's my Batgirl cycle now. So Superman has double jointed knees, which seem like they should bend further than that, but it seems like that's the furthest that they will bend. So, and then even though this is a separate piece of plastic here from the looks of it, and they could have given him a boot cut, they chose not to. It's glued on there solid. But hey, that's okay, because he's got the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation that rotates all the way around there. And it rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the foot and where the ankle meets the shin. And then Superman's foot can point down about that far. Superman's foot can point up about that far. And then, of course, he has toe articulation just to show off. Al Davis says the drifter bike. Oh yeah, because I was talking about that one the other day with Vigilante. Yeah, that one's really cool too. And that one's more of like a standard motorcycle. But yeah, it's good to use for lots of different characters. Pretty much any character in that scale you'd want to have on that you'd want to have on a motorcycle. I think it works pretty well. So Amiga Kami says, I got the Spin Master 4-inch toys from the Batman movie. The car is so cool. A very fun toy with cool light sounds and lights. Yeah, I remember that one being pretty decent. And then Kami says, the Batmobile, I mean, the police car is kind of plain, but it was cool to have a patrol car in my world. Yeah, definitely. I did want to pick one of those up because Walmart did have those for a while, and I was hoping to get one on clearance, but they all got snagged. I really wanted the Jeffrey Wright figure that came with it because I thought he was a good Commissioner Gordon. As many problems as I had with that movie, Jeffrey Wright was not one of them. I thought he was excellent. He's always excellent. He's a fantastic actor. I liked him, and I liked Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and I liked the overall feel of Gotham City itself, and that's mainly the things I liked about that movie. So if you liked this version of Superman, I'm going to highly recommend that you pick up this figure. And it might even be worth picking up at full retail price. But I'm going to say check your Walmart in the electronics section, and you might be pleasantly surprised to find this guy marked down to $2. Or I'm sorry, not $2 would be ridiculous. $10 is what I meant to say. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking of Better Off Dead for a moment there, I guess. But yeah, for this is actually, like, I think a pretty good deal. As many problems as I had with the movie, and this design of the costume, it's a solid figure. And it's you know, if you want to figure this version of the character, you want it to look like this costume, and it captures it fairly well, I think. Again, I was not really a fan of this movie, so I don't really want to have a figure of this version of Superman in my collection. And it's a shame, because I think that David Cornsweet actually could have been a good Superman. I'm going to say this right now. If you watch, and I've talked about this before, if you watch the screen test that he did, where he's just reading the dialogue as he feels like it should be read without James Gunn telling him to crash out like a 12-year-old. He's reading it in a much more Christopher Reeve kind of way, and honestly, he seems like a nice guy. So I really don't want to rag on David Cornsweet too much. The worst thing I'll say about David Cornsweet is he's kind of like the great value version, like the store brand version of Henry Cavill. And, you know, being the store brand version of Henry Cavill, there's no shame in that, because Henry Cavill's awesome, isn't he? So so yeah, it is what it is. And if you liked this movie, I think you'd like this figure. So if you liked this movie, first of all, thanks for staying this long in the video while I've been ragging on it. And, you know, thanks for being cool about that. But second of all, glad you got something you enjoy. And third of all, pick up this figure, because he's worth picking up, especially if you can find him for $10. $10 is a great price for this. Future DC Warrior says Alan, Brandon, Ralph, and Tom Welling were together at GalaxyCon yesterday. It's on YouTube, and a fan told me live, you only wear the Superman suit 5 seconds and you don't count. Ouch. Well, I actually agree with that. And I'm sorry, Tom Welling. You were the one who decided you didn't want to wear the Superman suit. You were the one who decided you didn't want that. So, you know, you made that decision. You deal with the consequences. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you want me to consider you a true Superman actor, you need to show up on screen in the suit. I challenge you, Tom Welling, if you're actually watching this video, because I'm sure Tom Welling watches my videos. Tom Welling, if you see this, you put on the Superman suit and you get yourself into a Superman project right away. If you want me to consider you a Superman actor, you need to actually play Superman. And then I think I'd probably actually like him as Superman. I think he'd be fine. Amiga Kami said, going back to the Gotham PD patrol car, yeah, it's the only way to get the Gordon figure, the whole top of the roof open so you can put figures in it. Well, that's neat. Lone Dragon says, I like littering, and littering, and littering, and smoking the reefer. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie. I need to watch that again. It's been too long since I've seen Super Troopers. For any of you out there in the audience, he's making a reference to Super Troopers. Great movie, great comedy. I really enjoy that one. I haven't seen it in a long time, though. I did just a couple of weeks ago watch Beer Fest again, which is another movie with those guys in it that I really enjoy. Al Davis says, Warrior, some knob wanted to get internet famous saying something like that. Yeah, but where's the lie, though? Future DC Warrior says exactly. Corn Sweat felt more like Superboy comics, not like Superman. Yeah, because James Gunn had him crashing out all the time. Because it's important that Lex Luthor knows that you hurt his feelings. Why would you want Lex Luthor to know that you hurt your feelings? That you hurt your feelings. Why would you want that to be a thing? Lex Luthor is like the last person on Earth that Superman should let know that his feelings are hurt. Amiga Cami says, I liked how Tom Welling's Clark was gimped on Crisis on Infinite Earths. He still wasn't Superman. And I guarantee you that was his decision too. I guarantee you, like, I'll come in, but I'm not wearing the suit. Okay, fine, whatever, bro. Lone Dragon says Super Troopers 2 is the only comedy sequel made 20 years later that is worth watching more than one. Wow. Okay, first of all, I forgot there even was a Super Troopers 2. Second of all, I never even saw Super Troopers 2 because I was kind of like, you guys are doing a sequel now, whatever, and then just kind of went on with my life. But if you're saying it's worth watching, I'm going to check it out because if you're saying it's worth watching, it's probably worth watching at least once. And then Future DC Warrior says Super Troopers 3 is coming, Alan. There's a new really? Wow. Okay, well, I definitely have to check out part 2 then, because. And then Al Davis says the makeup artist Dick Smith style exorcist scar on Reagan's tummy was Tom Welling's Superman logo. Not good enough. Not good enough. Yeah. I figured you meant once. I probably should have read it that way, Lone Dragon. Sorry about that. Al Davis says the Broken Lizard guys are great. Penelope in Club Dread. Yeah, I think about that anytime I see a girl named Penelope. I was Penelope in my head. But yeah, we probably should talk about this before I call it a day. So one last criticism that I have about this costume is, and Al Davis clearly feels even more strongly about this than I do, is this Superman emblem. I don't like it. And I know some of you out there are like, wait a minute, Alan, aren't you being a little hypocritical? Because I know that you're a fan of Alex Ross. I know that you consider Alex Ross to be one of the greatest artists of all time. I know that you're a fan of Kingdom Come, that you consider to be one of the greatest Superman comics of all, not just overall DC comics, but specifically it's a Superman story. And that's where this emblem came from. It came from Kingdom Come, and you love Kingdom Come. And you said you liked the Brandon Routh Superman suit from CW, and that had the Kingdom Come emblem on it. So why are you saying that this is bad, that he has this emblem on his chest, when you're fine with it being on Brandon Routh and being Kingdom Come and being, Alex Ross does? Okay, let's slow down a second. Kingdom Come is a story of an older Superman. And when Brandon Routh was wearing that emblem, playing the Kingdom Come Superman in a Christopher Reeve kind of universe, Christopher Reeve-esque universe, the Superman Returns universe, he was playing an older Superman. And when Alex Ross designed this Superman emblem, he designed it as an emblem for an older Superman. And when he did that, his thought process was he was looking at how the Superman symbol was drawn in the original comics and how it evolved and changed over the years and got a bit more simplified and try to crush it down and make it as simple as possible. And that's how he designed this Superman emblem. And it makes sense on an older Superman because of that very reason. And on a younger Superman, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not really an S, is it, anymore at this point? It makes sense on an older Superman, especially in the Kingdom Come story, where like he's kind of lost a little bit of what made him Superman, and he's trying to recapture it, that he'd have like an incomplete Superman emblem on his chest, doesn't it? Why does this version of Superman have an incomplete emblem on his chest? But that's not even the worst problem with this Superman emblem. I'm going to tell you exactly what the worst problem with this Superman emblem is. And it ties in with my main criticism of this movie, and the thing that makes me glad that I didn't watch it all the way through to the end, because it would have pissed me off to no end. If I probably would have put a brick through the screen. But in this version, Jor-El and Lara are telling Superman that basically he should turn Krypton into he should turn Earth into his own personal little fun camp, to try to put it in like a YouTube friendly sort of way that doesn't get me banned or something like that. You know, like to spread your seed and all this kind of stuff. And that was just nasty. That was just disgusting. That was an absolutely horrible thing to do to great beloved characters, certainly characters that I love, like Jor-El and Lara. And I was deeply bothered by this. And Jor-El is a character that I think is awesome, and I love the Marlon Brando version of Jor-El, and I love the Russell Crowe version of Jor-El. I love Jor-El in like the Silver Age comics, and he should be a good guy. He should be a guy that like Superman is that kind of altruistic character. And I feel like that was something where James Gunn just majorly dropped the ball, and that to me proved he was absolutely the wrong guy to do Superman in the first place. So, considering how we've already established what this emblem means in this universe and who it represents and what their philosophy was, why is Superman still wearing this emblem on his chest? Maybe this version of Superman should follow Al Davis's advice. If he's really the good guy version of Superman that everybody thinks that he is, maybe he should do what Al Davis says and rip this fucking thing off his chest immediately. Because this is like almost as bad as wearing a swastika, as far as I'm concerned, in the reality of that movie. And if I was Alex Ross, I'd be really pissed off that they used my Superman emblem that I designed for Kingdom Come to represent that. I would be just livid. That's just me. So let's get back to the chat for a little bit before we wrap things up, because there are some chats that I missed. Al Davis says Broken Lizard guys are great. Yeah, I read that one. All right. Future DC Warrior says, oh, guess what, Alan? It's only after Crisis that now Tom says he wants to wear the costume. Now, dude, because kids keep asking him, hey, Dad, why are you the only Superman not wearing the costume? Now he wants to. Well, you know what? If he does, good on him. And then I will finally consider him to be a true Superman actor. But until then, you're not. You're not. I will even consider John Hames Newton and Gerard Christopher to be true Superman actors, even though technically they played Superboy. At least they wore the suit. Al Davis says non-wired cape or the shitty, fucking awful, terrible crap non-S. Well, I will say this, like, at this point, I kind of feel like if you're not going to have a wired cape, at least have one that's like a plastic cape that's molded on, so it can look kind of dramatic and not just like a piece of cloth hanging off of his back. But I suspect the main reason they did that was so that they could get the S on the back more easily. Future DC Warrior said, yup, and Brandon Routh mentioned at GalaxyCon yesterday that he was glad to wear their Superman costume a second time, returning for Crisis, and felt the costume was way better. I always liked Brandon Routh. I always thought he was great. I always thought he was well cast, and really enjoyed his performance as Superman. And that's another movie that I've got some issues with. But hey, look, the cape comes off fairly easily. It's not meant to come off, but the glue holding it on is very light, so I was able to get it off, which is good, because when I make the figure that I'm gonna make, he ain't gonna have a cape. But you guys are just gonna have to, if you pay attention to what I said in this video, you can probably figure out what character I'm gonna make. this figure into. It's not going to be Superman, and it's going to address my main criticism with this movie. So you can probably guess what it is now. You can probably guess. So if you made it this far in the video, leave your guess in the comments as to what you think that I'm going to turn this figure into. And I'm not going to tell you you're right yet because as a secret. I'm way behind on the chat. And I want to get caught up on this before I end the video. Al Davis says the bar on the top and the bottom of the red outline is thicker in the Ross emblem. That's interesting. I didn't even know that was a difference. I never saw the figure at Ross. I did see some of the Mcfarlane figures at Ross. Like I saw Aquaman there like a couple of weeks ago from the second wave and the rebirth version of Superman. But I never did see this version of Superman there. I might have bought it at Ross for that price. But now I'm kind of glad I didn't because I got him for much cheaper. So that's good. And I'm going to have to stick the cape back on him before I take the thumbnail. But I did want to show how easy it was to pull that cape off for anybody who wants to customize it. Lone Dragon says Anchorman 2, Dumb and Dumber 2, which was spelled T-O, by the way, in that movie. Bill and Ted 3, Clerks 3, Jay and Silent Bob 2, Happy Gilmore 2, all not good. There are a number of those I haven't seen. I saw parts of Dumb and Dumber, and I saw Bill and Ted 3, and I saw Jay and Silent Bob 2. I never watched Clerks 3 because I just heard what the storyline was in that, and I'm like, I'm not interested in that. Sorry, Kevin Smith. I'm not interested in seeing you do that with those characters. As far as I'm concerned, Dante is still married to Rosario Dawson, and they're raising their little girl right now. That's she's getting into her teenage years. How could you do that to Dante? You thought better of it in the first movie. You should have thought better of it in the third movie too. Let's see. Where was the Future DC Warrior says exactly. It doesn't even make sense. By Gunn's trash logic. Now that he found out about Jor-El and Lara, why would he even wear that crest? Exactly. Al Davis says a concentration camp. No, like not a concentration camp. He'd be concentrating on one thing and one thing only, if you know what I mean. He was supposed to spread his seed. You know, like we're not talking consent here. Al Davis says that ruined Superman's efforts to be good. Not now. Now it looks like a sham and a plot to disguise his intentions. Lex is the only person that believes Superman is dangerous. And then Al Davis says Omni-Man. Yeah, kind of like Omni-Man. They basically just ripped that off. So yeah, basically. Future DC Warrior says, yep, I have issues with Superman Returns. So do I. But he was great in it. And I got to meet Brandon Routh on a flight out to Superman Celebration. Oh, that's awesome. We took pics. I was on a flight with Superman. Yeah, like you're in good company there. Conception camp. Yeah, that's more like what Al Davis says. Conception camp. Yeah, that's what they wanted him to do with Earth. That's what Jor-El and Lara wanted him to do with Earth. Disgusting. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I think that's everything I have to say about this figure. Like I said, if you're a fan of the movie, pick it up. It's definitely one you'd want to have in your collection. And even if you're not a fan of the movie, if you don't hate the costume too much, and like I said, I kind of hate this costume, it might be something that's worth, picking up anyway, just to have another Superman in your collection, I guess. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Brightburn. Yeah, see, James Gunn even already did that with Brightburn. And I know people are like, well, he didn't direct that movie. Yeah, but he produced it. He's still was part of the creative process, I'm sure. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this figure. And am I being too harsh on this movie? Honestly, if you made it this far in the video, and you're a fan of this movie, I congratulate you. This is like an hour and 40 minutes I've been talking about this thing. And I had a lot of criticisms to say about this movie. So if you made it this far in the video, thanks for your patience with me. And why don't you tell me what you liked about this movie and what were some things that you enjoyed about it? I want to hear. Don't come down hard on me because I'm not interested in that. And if you're a jerk, I'm going to delete your comment. I don't even care. But but I'm willing to have a civil discussion about it, and I know lots of friends of the channel and lots of viewers of the channel and lots of fans of the channel actually did enjoy it. Omni-Man for the custom, he says. Well, yeah, like actually Omni-Man would be a good custom base for Mr. Majestic too, going back to that with the red and white costume. For you, yeah. I mean, like that you could probably make this into an Omni-Man, I guess. That would actually be a funny choice to make this version of Superman into Omni-Man. I think that would be amusing. Future DC Warrior says Superman 2025 is the only DC movie I don't own, and I own them all. Likewise here, and again with the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, it's the same thing. That's the only Batman movie I will never own in any format. And then Al Davis says, as sorry for chatting shitloads. No. That's fine. I'm not complaining that this was a long episode. This was just going to be a long episode. It probably would have been like seriously still like super long. I probably could have gone for 2 hours just talking about the things that I don't like about the suit. So so no, don't feel bad about. You got no need to feel bad about that. Like you know I love you guys in the chat. I always want to hear from you guys in the chat. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I'm gonna go take the thumbnail picture, and it's like it's almost 4 o'clock, so it's still not that late. But I do want to try to take a bit of a nap before I go to work. So I did wake up earlier today, and I got some things that I want to be 3D printing. Hey, I got some custom fodder to work on, so we need to get on that. Anyway, thanks everybody for stopping by. Always good to see you. We will talk to you next time. Bye.